persons involved in the rearing of livestock need to think as
it is the intention of government to give deliberate attention to all levels of education from
watch in preparation for any eventuality. EMAP, the national
until the end ban, who will actually make it true? Will the tables be turned?
Be Monier, like at the top moon, what la Mexico hotel here,
city that appeals to locals and visitors alike is set to contain
as many as our opinions behind, as many as will be opinions,
Hello, and welcome to a special edition of Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service and the National Television Network. My name is Chris Santney. In today's program, we will speak on the issue of the OECS Regional Assembly. And with me to discuss this issue and to give the answers are the Ambassador Colin Murdoch, who is to my immediate right. He is the Commissioner from Antigua and Barbuda. Ambassador Astona Brown, who is a Commissioner from St. Kitts and Nevis. Next to her is Ambassador June Suma of St. Lucia. And next to her, immediate right, is Ambassador Ellsworth John of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Welcome to our program, Ambassadors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Of course, we're here to speak about the Regional Assembly, but before we do that, I just want to solicit some comment on the milestone celebrated by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, its 31st anniversary. Some quick comments from each of you.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here in St. Lucia and to participate in this program. I think OECS and its anniversary, it's an enormous achievement and accomplishment. OECS has been working at integration over many years, and quite frankly, I think some of its achievements are underrated and not sufficiently merited. We have had a regional court for many, many years, over 40 years. We have had functional cooperation programs, and I think the anniversary is a tremendous celebration and recognition of all the work at integration OECS has done over the years.
Ambassador Brown.
I would join my colleague in saying that the OECS has really done phenomenally well over the past years of its existence. As you would have heard, there are institutions that predated, of course, the new treaty coming into force in January of last year. And what we are seeing now is a step further in deepening the partnership, the integration process that will see us working harmoniously together in various areas of our endeavors. And we would want the citizens of the region to know that there are benefits, there are opportunities that can be gained from this economic union that is really now the step forward that we have taken and that has been formalized with the coming into force of this new treaty.
Ambassador Suma.
Thank you very much, Chris. One of my peeves in the region is the fact that we never celebrate our successes. And the OECS is one of the major successes in the region. When you look at integration, not even only in the region, but throughout the world, when you look at the history of integration movements, you will see that ours has had a very logical, and to use your word, evolution. And now that we have moved into economic union, we expect that we will continue to bring the same benefits or even more benefits to the people of the region. So I look forward to the discussion and to sharing more with you on that matter.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's very nice to be in St. Lucia and to be in these very nice studios that you have here. What you see here is just a sampling of one of the changes that we've had in the OECS with the Economic Union, the establishment of an OECS Commission. 4 of us represent Antigua, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but we also have three more of our colleagues here in St. Lucia this week, from Grenada, in William Joseph, from Dominica, and in Steve Ferron and Claude Hogan from Montserrat. Because we are here this week because we are looking at the monitoring and implementation mechanism that will be used to judge whether the economic union and the new instruments that we are putting in place really work to the benefit of our nationals, and making sure that we have all the right instruments and measures in place to gauge our success.
Ambassador Brown, could you make it a little more clearer what really is the Regional Assembly of the OECS?
The OECS Parliamentary Assembly is one of the 5 organs of governance for the OECS Economic Union, and that body will have the role of deliberating on the legislation that should be approved by the OECS authority. And although the legislation will not be totally binding on member states, it provides that filtering process that is critical when the representatives of both the government side and the opposition side in the respective member states have the opportunity to sit and deliberate on issues that are pertinent to the OECS.
Ambassador Murdoch, why was it needed, the Assembly at this time?
Well, I think, as my colleague has mentioned, relating to the 5 organs, you have a deepening of the integration process and more collaborative action between member states. And I think as a platform and as a foundation, you would want to have that grounded in people's representatives. The connection, I think that the legislation and the policies that go forward to the authority and get approved for action in member states is well known, well debated, and approved among the people's representatives. So I think it provides a forum for the debate on regional issues to take place, and all the issues that sometimes maybe can be controversial, they can be debated, and I think it will throw more light and let the public in our region and everyone know and understand what is involved in managing and operating an economic union.
How will the information, the topics and what will be discussed come from the people and kind of impact on the discussion of that Parliamentary Assembly? Dr. Simon.
Well, before we even go there, I think that I would like to pick up on something that Ambassador Murdoch said, and that is with regard to the representatives of the people. One of the first things you have to realize about the Regional Assembly is that it is a new democratic institution, and we cannot stress that enough. Where you have prime ministers and parties who are in power meeting with the oppositions from the region and talking about legislation that will be put in into the entire region. That is a major step. We haven't seen that happening anywhere else, where oppositions and ruling parties get together to talk about, you know, the important legislative competence that has been given to the OECS authority. So you will have, for example, from each of the independent territories, you will have 5 representatives in the Assembly, made up of both opposition and the ruling parties. So we will be seeing and getting views from all sides throughout the region. And people will have the chance to make their input by speaking to their representatives. We have certain areas that the OECS authority has competence in, things like trade, for example. So, for example, the private sector can meet with the local governments and they can talk about, you know, what's happening in the region, in their own countries, and then these issues will reach the National Assembly. Because it is a new institution, I don't think that we have everything worked out, so that when Commissioner Brown says that It will not be binding. It means, she simply means that the authority will have the final say. But at the same time, everybody will have an opportunity to give their views with regard to what legislation should be passed and what is the best legislation for moving certain things forward in the region.
All right. We're due for a break now. You're watching Issues and Answers. We're back after this.
Home was meant to be a safe and secure place for children. But for those who witness abuse and violence in the home daily, this is just not the case. Don't let your children become victims of abuse. There are support services available to you and your family.
For more information, call 202, the Women's Support Center.
Abuse can have a tragic end. Zero tolerance is what you need, my prayer.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers, where the issue in today's program is the Regional Assembly of the OECS, or the Parliamentary Assembly of the OECS. Previously, we were speaking about the whole makeup of the Parliamentary Assembly. Now I want to ask Ambassador John, Commissioner John, how would this, from your view, impact on governance within the OECS?
Well, let's understand that the representatives that will be going to the assembly from each country will be going as a delegation from that country. They wouldn't be going as, this is the government, this is the opposition. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because of the composition of our parliament at the moment, the breakdown will be 3 persons from the government side and 2 persons from the opposition side, one being the Prime Minister, one being the leader of the opposition, and they are all elected members. So the issues in each country that might divide a particular parliament is not going to become to the fore in the regional parliament, because we're going to be discussing regional issues in the assembly that will be held. And we haven't mentioned yet that the inaugural meeting of the assembly is going to be in Antigua and Barbuda, which is going to be the home of the assembly, and that will be on the 10th of August of this year. And we are hoping that all nationals of the OECS will tune in so that they could be part of this very important new governance arrangement for the OECS. As my colleagues have said, the importance of the Regional Assembly is people's participation and having a voice in what is taking place in the OECS and the changes that we are going through. Because, quite frankly, we have become one economic space, and it has implications for the lives of our people. And we have to have a say in what takes place in that forum. And so this is just one of the instruments that we'll be using to improve on governance.
We've been speaking about the involvement of opposition forces within the OECS. Commissioner Murdoch, what is your take on the participation of the opposition from the various countries and the importance to finding the solutions?
Well, for Antigua and Barbuda, the OECS Assembly, and in fact the entire economic union arrangements, have the full support of the opposition party in Antigua and Barbuda. And I gather that it is the same for all the member states of the region. And the opposition party has spoken publicly and in Parliament regarding its support. And the legislation which establishes the OECS Economic Union, the revised Treaty of Bastia, went through Parliament with the full support of both the government and the opposition. Also, I think we have a new relationship, at least on OECS matters, between the government and opposition parties. I wish to refer to a meeting held with the former chairman of OECS, Dr. Kenny Anthony, and the leaders of the opposition of all the OECS member states, which was held on the 4th of May. Here in St. Lucia. And from all reports, it was a very, very successful meeting. The opposition parties pledged their support to all these new arrangements. And I think we are seeing the beginning of a new consensus building on OECS matters, which I think will help very much in implementation of the OECS Economic Union.
Commissioner Brown, do you see that as a great platform to bring people together polarized by partisan politics that tend to affect the finding solutions to a lot of the problems faced by our development.
That's right, and I must say at this point that it was intended for the OECS Assembly to mirror, to reflect what actually is the reality in the respective member states. So the whole idea of the opposition and government representatives coming together and to be able to speak on the issues in the regional body, the regional assembly, really augurs well for the movement, the integration, the deepening even of the relationship that we anticipate would really bring us from the treaty. So yes, I do see that as a step in the right direction.
Ambassador Suma, we speak of the full-time members of the OECS and those who are associate. How does that affect the whole build-up?
Well, we have made provision for associate members also within the treaty. And some of the members are not independent states. But we do have one full member who is not independent, and that is Montserrat. So as soon as they finish with all of the signings and the constitutional issues, they will be full members. So they will be also in the parliament. But we also have the arrangement for 3 members to be in the OECS parliament. So as soon as these members sign and ratify the treaty, then they are in the assembly also. So we are making provisions. We're not leaving out any of our members. They will be part of the whole assembly, and so their people will also have a voice within the assembly.
How does Haiti fit in all of this?
Well, Haiti is not a part of the OECS, or is not a member of the OECS. It's part of CARICOM. And so Haiti does not feature at all within our...
The reason why I included Haiti is because of our profound concern for the CARICOM, as you said, member state. And I know that there were some pushes to bring other states within, that include some of the French states as well, Martinique.
Yes, the governments have issued a declaration saying that they are seriously looking at additional members. But in the meantime, our focus is on establishing the economic union on a strong footing. Yes, we are looking at associate members, and we are looking at what we want and what they can bring to the table. So that is a definite possibility in the near future. But for the time being, we are looking at our own governance structures, strengthening these structures, monitoring and evaluating these structures to make sure that we can have the realization of the treaty. The treaty promises much to the region, and so we have to make sure that we have our house in order first.
The economic union, very important to the OECS, and of course we see the Commission as being part and parcel of the same. How do you view its importance in the thrust for economic union?
Well, the Commission, having the Commission established with a person of ambassadors rank from each country being on the Commission, is another way of getting people's participation in the way things are run within the OECS. Because part of our function as a commissioner is to interface with our various ministries, civil society, etc., get their views on what should be done within the OECS to advance the economic union, and be able in the operation of the Secretariat and also in sending information forward to the heads in the authority, be able to reflect those views. We are also essential for implementation of decisions. So there are 2 ways of ensuring that the decisions of the authority are implemented. One is by having the commissioners interface with the persons in the line ministries and civil society back home to ensure that they do what is supposed to be done. And the second is by having legislation that is filtered through the Assembly to the authority, passed, that is binding on the member states so that it will be implemented.
All right, we're due for another break now, but we'll return with more discussion on the Parliamentary Assembly of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Stay with us.
So, I went on a date last night. The guy invited me in I didn't think it was necessary, but then he got upset and then he tried to...
You know how they are. So you better not get yourself into situations where you could become vulnerable.
And you cannot be naive. Always be prepared.
Some of them will knock and knock and knock and...
Some of them will push.
Force.
Some just know what you need to hear.
At the right time.
At the wrong time.
For them.
But I will protect myself.
HIV is deadly. Protect yourself.
The temple of my spirit, the mansion of my soul, only I can guard it. I am in control.
This message comes from the Ministry of Health's National AIDS Program and the Creole Theatre Workshop.
Welcome back to Issues and Answers, where the issue today is the launch of the OECS Regional Assembly, and of course there are 4 commissioners here of that body here to speak to us about the issues. Ambassador John, before the break, you were talking about some of the roles of the commissioners as far as the Parliamentary Assembly is concerned. You just continue on this.
The treaty provides for a commission that is made up of 1 person from each member state of ambassador's rank, under the chairmanship of the Director General of the OECS. And it is done in that with a particular reason, because the Director General would be able to take bring a regional perspective to the discussion in the Commission, and therefore it was agreed that it would be under her chairmanship that we will go forward as a Commission. We operate basically as the board of directors for the commission. The secretariat is now a part of the commission. So as an entirety, it is the commissioners plus the secretariat that makes up the commission for the OECS. And we are responsible for the administrative functions in the OECS.
So, Ambassador Murdoch, I expect that there would be widespread discussion on the ground about the issues that are affecting the nation, issues affecting the peoples, and hoping to get this information to be discussed widely to bring out a solution.
Yes, in Antigua and Barbuda, and I'm sure my colleagues will share that this is the same in their member state. We have had discussions on the ground in Antigua, many of them in formats such as this, on TV programs, on radio programs, call-in programs, in the media, in newspapers. There has been considerable discussion regarding OECS Economic Union, and more particularly the OECS Assembly. And I think perhaps in Antigua this is because the OECS Assembly will be hosted in Antigua, and the inaugural session will be on the 10th of August. And so we are, as host country, we are making all the plans and the preparations to have a really good launch of this new regional institution, so that we can showcase to the regional public the new democratic institutions that are put in place in order to ensure that the economic union is managed in the full view of the public of the region.
The launch was set earlier, but it has been postponed. Why is that? Ambassador Brown?
Of course, we intended to have had the launch on the 15th of June, but as you're aware, it really involved a lot of preparations, and it was our view that the public should be well informed of this phenomenal and inaugural session, historical session, if I may say, and therefore the decision to ensure that we are prepared in a manner that the arrangements would allow for a real successful launch of this regional body, would require that we defer until such time. And we have agreed, with the concurrence, of course, of the heads, that the new date is the 10th of August.
But Dr. Suma, we know that quite a lot has to be done if reaching the people that will be most affected by this. What is being done on the ground to ensure that peoples of the OECS are aware? really and truly what, apart from forums like this, what really the Regional Assembly will do for them?
Well, one of the biggest challenges with any organization, and certainly with ours, the OECS, is the issue of public relations. And you would know that it's not an easy thing to do public relations on issues like this, because you have to, I think one of the reasons is because we think that people already see it as part of their lives. They have been using the EC dollar for so long.
Yeah.
They have the telecommunications that go smoothly. They don't realize that it's done through regulation, of a body. You have the civil aviation. So we have taken it as part of our lives. And people don't see it as something that you should really put on television or speak about, in schools or on the radio and so on. But it's necessary because of the fact that this is a new dispensation. Economic union is a new dispensation. And people have to understand what will happen in the future. Okay, so it's a major challenge for us. We are working with the OECS Commission Secretariat for us to put forward a comprehensive communication strategy for the economic union. But in the meantime, with regard to the Regional Assembly itself, as of the 2nd of July, right through July, throughout the region, there will be public service announcements, there will be discussions. We have a whole slate of things that will be happening before the launch of the Regional Assembly or the OECS Assembly. And we hope that people will participate. And even more so, we are expecting that our leaders will be making more. Remember, this is a very political institution.
Yes.
Will be making these kinds of statements. And people will be able to understand and be able to be ready for the 10th of August.
Will we see the operation of such a body similar to what happens in the regional parliaments of the various jurisdictions, Ambassador?
You mean in the national parliament?
National parliaments.
On television?
Television.
We are working towards that. In fact, yesterday we spent a considerable amount of time with staff of the commission looking at exactly how we're going to do this process to make sure that the widest cross-section of persons are able to view what is taking place, and if possible view it live. Because it is very important that people see this as a part, their thing. This is a part of us, and embrace what is being done at the regional level. And the interesting thing is, because as we have been saying, both opposition and government members are totally in agreement that this is the way to go with the OECS, it means that our populations are united on this as well. I know in St. Vincent, where we sometimes tend to be polarized politically, this is one of the issues that we can say easily that we are at one. And so we are anticipating that this regional assembly is going to be a success and that the people will embrace it.
All right, we have just a minute left. Just to wrap up, quick comments from the ambassadors on set. So, Ambassador Murdoch, we'll start with you.
Oh, thank you. I am very excited by the new launch of this new institution, and I think it is a very, very important addition to our regional governance structure. And I see it as a democratic value added to what we have in the region at the moment.
Ambassador?
We all are looking forward to the inaugural session. And as we would have participation not only at the level of the parliamentarians, but there would be representatives from the respective member countries who will be able to travel to Antigua to join with us in experiencing this historical occasion. We look forward to its successful rollout, and we are certain that the government of Antigua and Barbuda, who has so graciously agreed to have the OECS Parliament accommodated there in Antigua, will be doing all that it can, ably assisted, of course, by the OECS Commission and the other member states, to ensure that it will be a successful outcome.
Ambassador Soma.
I too am very excited about the eventuality of the OECS Assembly. And I'm excited because of the fact that for years now, we have been told that our political leaders are not committed to integration, that we just pay lip service to this thing, and so on. So when you see things like that happening in the OECS, you understand the kind of commitment and you understand the kind of maturity that's taking place within our political systems for us to have an assembly like this in the region. So I look forward to it and all the good things that it can bring to the region.
Ambassador John, you have the final word.
Good governance is a buzzword these days. And I think what we are demonstrating here is good governance. And I think professors and academics will for years be looking at what we have done in the OECS with our commission and with the Regional Assembly, our new governance arrangement, and analyzing at our success so that it can be duplicated elsewhere.
Thank you so much, Ambassador John, Ambassador Suma, Ambassador Brown, as well as Ambassador Madam for being part of our program. Well, you've been watching Issues and Answers, a production of the Government Information Service and the National Television Network of St. Lucia. My name is Chris Sante, thanking you so much for being part of our program, where we just discussed the issues of the Parliamentary Regional Assembly of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Hoping, of course, you would take the time to avail with information on that. It's widespread on the internet, so you do your searches and avail yourself with the information at your fingertips. I'm Chris Satney on behalf of the entire team, thanking you for watching.
Joseph emphasized that persons involved in the rearing of livestock need to think as
It is the intention of government to give deliberate attention to all levels of education from
watch in preparation for any eventuality. EMAP, the national
until the end brand, who will actually make it true, will the tables be turned?
Money, like at the top moon, but la Messi go